A slip has just wiped out here on their forces. This just slipped just now. There's logs washing past you down there, which is the road's getting washed away. That's the campsite over there. It's completely flooded. Like the river is on the other side of the campsite and is going through the campsite. What the road is getting washed away. This is the road. This is crazy. That's supposed to be a teeny drain. That's the only part of the road you can see. Petrol in the water here, so I'm hoping people are alright. This is the house. That's the house. And there's a slip all over it.
You can't have clear-cut forestry on the most unstable soil on earth. If you do that, you have to put in so many safety conditions to prevent disasters from happening. For some reason, forestry is allowed to proceed on ridiculously steep gradients. It's incomprehensible that that can be considered appropriate land management or farming practice.
And we're getting an evacuation plan together because we're not getting out of here. It's broken one bank, it's totally flooded over. Friend's house over there, that car's not going to have too long. The trees are now logging up at the road, so it's just all going to back up because it's creating a dam.
Been a massive slip here on the hills.
Coming down, look at it. Let's go back home, mate. Wow.
Could hear some rumbling. And I looked out and I saw the water going over the bank, and then I saw trees going over the bank, and then it kind of went away, and then it rumbled again, and then there was another lot, and there was another lot. I went out and looked at this pile of logs and debris that was floating down here, and I thought, actually, this isn't sensible. So I got back in the house and Tim rang and said he'd rung the police and someone was coming to get me. And these sweet guys from the Mountain Rescue Rafting Club knocked on my back door and said they'd like to raft me out.
The kids were sort of waiting for the storm to come, and yeah, we just watched. There was a lot of rain and some puddles were forming, but it didn't seem like nothing too serious. And then all of a sudden, the hillside right over there, there was a massive landslide coming down. And from that moment onwards, I felt the adrenaline rushing through my body, and I knew it was actually really, really serious. There was a lot more water and logs starting to come down. So I just grabbed a couple of things for the kids, and yeah, by then we just had to wade out of the house knee deep.
I was up at the house above mine, standing on the veranda with a few other people watching this go by. And because I didn't want to be in my house by myself, standing on the balcony watching these log jams come down this very narrow stream, and with each log jam it is eating the bank away closer and closer and closer to the house. It was terrifying. If it hadn't stopped raining when it did, the houses would have been taken away.
This is a really huge event for us. We know Marahau's been badly impacted, especially at this end, but it's a real big event for us as a council.
I just think it's very grateful as a community that we didn't actually have a loss of life in that thing when I did see what happened.
This little community here of this property is 4 houses, including this one. It used to have 5. And in the last big event like this, our neighbour Jude was killed by a landslide. So that affected us a lot.
Your land, if it's been damaged by stuff coming down from other people's land onto your property, what can you do about it? Well, unfortunately, if it's on your land, it's probably your issue to remove it. If you can prove there was negligence in the people who've caused that stuff to come down the hill to you, you should take legal advice and see what you can do to get some recompense. In the case of certain landowners, like we've already talked about Tasman Forest Management, they've owned it to some degree and they're helping people who've been impacted directly by them. So again, that conversation should be had quite early with the people who've caused the problem.
The emergency services, to be honest, like the people who restore the power lines and the phone lines, the people who bring in water, the people who bring in generators and machinery and everything have been absolutely brilliant. But it's kind of sad in a way that we're so well equipped to deal with disasters, but so pathetically equipped to avoid the disasters happening in the first place.
Is that the first time that a community is affected by the logging?
No, not at all. No.
So most of the forestry in this area behind here has been here for 30 or 40 years, often second rotation, so even longer than that. So yes, we've had these issues over that time.
We hear from the scientists, climate change is here. We've been warned for years, but we've copped a summer and the meteorologists now say this is it. So we can expect more dramas and major storms.
Here we can see forestry trees that have been cut and felled and ended up down in our stream bed. Look at the size of them. These massive trees have gone shooting straight into the bush and towards one of our small dwellings.
Looking down on these steep places from up there, I see all these missiles lying there on the hillside, knowing they're going to come down.
It feels like we are living beneath a loaded gun. I kind of look at the slopes, I look at the forestry and I think this could happen next week, this could happen next month, this could happen in a year's time.
So many people are affected. A lot of people are extraordinarily angry, as so they should be. We have every right to feel unbelievably angry.
I've listened to you, and it's a public meeting. So here we go. And the pines are going up those hills and all over, and it's separation point granite. So what is going on with council? This goes on and on and on, and finally we get the hell handed out of us. And all over the region what we see is debris. And we wonder about the cleanups.
It's proven over time to be so destructive. This has happened before in other places. Other people have had this happen to them. It's the first time it's happened here to this proportion.
Forestry's been there for 50 years, so we've seen 50 years of events with this sort of rainfall happening, and each one is the same. There's a lot of destruction, a lot of sediment travels down the streams, and a lot of debris, especially since the logging cycles have taken place.
As a neighbour, if anything comes over the border, it comes onto my place. That's because I'm downhill. You know, so we're at the bottom of the valley, they're at the walls of the valley, and so if they don't do their job properly, not in the sense of law, but in the sense of achieving outcomes, then we suffer the consequences. And I've got to say that, given they're juggling the dragon, they don't do a bad job, and I find them very approachable and very reasonable people to deal with. But they're attempting the ecologically impossible, and that's the problem.
I've been the representative of the community to go up and with the forestry people and look at that. Now, they took me up there the first time, nearly 2 years ago, and everything looked pretty good to me. They were trying to do their best, but there's a lot they can't do, and that causes these problems.
Question to Tim or to Richard.
Oh, well, and then that brings me to the F word, forestry,
Right.
because a lot of damage around here is specifically from the slash and debris left behind by logging operations. And I could go on about that, but I think we'd all like to have some input into how we rewrite the rules around forestry and logging.
Unfortunately, the opportunity to rewrite the rules has been taken out of our hands as a council, because the government over the last, it's a decade, I think, at least, has been working on what they call the National Environmental Standard. So they've come out with the national rules. They're quite a substantial document, covers everything to do with forestry, from the very initial planting of forestry right through to its eventual harvesting. I wouldn't hold out hope, if anyone has that hope, that it would enable us to say, well, you just can't plant trees in any of these areas, or we've got to take off the ones that are there. So if you've got pine trees, you can replant pine trees under the NES.
It's pretty hard to stop forestry. There's, if that was a gold mine or a coal mine, they would be getting huge fines and being stopped. But because of forestry, they seem to be allowed to do what they like, although the government is now bringing in some laws to tighten that up a bit. But that won't stop what's happening with separation from granite. All along, really, the soil here has been disturbed by either farming, logging, and now, in the last 50-odd years, a lot of this is separation point granite has been planted in pine trees. And I was involved in that because that's what I did for a living. And I ended up back here replanting this after the first logging. And at the time, there was a lot of questions asked, and we asked too, is it a good idea to replant this? And the council representative, who was the expert on soils and forestry, assured everybody in the paper and verbally that the gorse would all start to grow again and the trees would grow and it would stabilise the soil. That didn't happen. It just slowly got worse and worse and worse, more and more slips.
The forestry is operating under the code of practice, which is acceptable, and they're doing the best they can. If you get caught out with a heavy rainfall event, you've got a major problem, and that's what's happened. It's just bad timing, the logging cycle corresponding to severe rainfall events. The separation point granite is very vulnerable. It gets saturated and just slides off the slope. If it's got trees on it, trees certainly do help because they transpire, they take moisture out, and the roots anchor the slope. With the likes of pine forest, you can't leave them in too long because they get too heavy and overload the slope. So you have to harvest. That's a reality. The problem is basically the planting of the pine trees. That's when you've got to start thinking about the effects that it's going to have.
how come we have tolerated in unstable areas mass planting of mono species when in Europe they have sophisticated plantings, all right, funded differently, but we fund in retrospect by paying massive amounts for cleanups. So can we not do it with things that may be more surgical and sophisticated, and that we don't clear whole hillsides like we've seen for years? They're gone, summer rains come, erosion.
To continuously plant pine trees and continuously clear fell, when we say clear fell, you understand all of the trees are gone in one season. Millions of trees are gone. So the hillside is bare and all of the soil is disturbed because every tree that is cut down is then dragged uphill.
It's bad habits because that's what they know and they default back to what they know, and it's what makes them the most money. But if it's not a sustainable solution and it's not working for the community and it's not working for a whole lot of other communities and people can make a big enough fuss, they'll just have to change it, won't they?
Yeah.
They used to, when they were forestry on the west coast, they used to do like single trees. I mean, they can do single trees, it's just that they have to, it's more expensive for them to do single trees.
I've been in Europe a lot, and because I'm a woodworker, I pay attention to the forest, and I've done some sculpture over there, so I've worked with the foresters and seen how they do things, and it's very selective, several trees at a time from one area and not a big cut and then replanting straight away and then moving on and taking several trees somewhere else.
If you look at the entire picture, this land use doesn't pay the cost of the cleanup, the environmental damage, which is ongoing. It's not just now, it's next year, the year after, the next 10 years, 15 years. Sediment will be coming down those streams. It shouldn't be.
Some of the areas that we planted, it was just ridiculous how steep it was. When I go along there now and take photos of it and look down on it, then I think, did we plant that? It's just ridiculous, eh? But that was part of the contract I had, so we had to plant it. Knowing what I know now, I probably wouldn't have done it.
I don't say that there shouldn't be forestry, but there's got to be a logical point at which you go, that slope's too steep, and it's better to let that revert back to the natural protection of the indigenous forest, possibly with a lot of assistance, because it'll be a moonscape if we probably don't help it. But putting it back in forestry is a recipe for a repetition of history.
Right now, I would like to see the remaining forestry pine trees taken away, to take that danger away. I would like to see the slopes cleaned up so that they haven't left the debris, which they call the slash from the forestry operations, on those hillsides. And then I'd like to see those hillsides replanted in native species so that this isn't a problem again for the future. So I'm not standing here 30 years from now when they're cutting it down again and having the same conversations. This time no one was killed. I can't believe that no one was killed. It's a miracle. I would not like to be sitting here 30 years from now and talking about the multiple fatalities we have because of the forestry operations.
The next step is going to be community action to get together to find ways to prevent this practice continuing and to safeguard ourselves from the continuation of this danger, not only personally, but for the whole environment. What needs to happen is that there be no more pine tree planting on these fragile soils, on any steep areas in New Zealand, on any areas where people are living underneath this activity.
It has to stop, and what is required to take its place is open to people's imagination.
I don't blame the present forestry owners. I don't blame the present forestry management. I don't blame the present Tasman District Council for anything that's happened here today or for anything which has happened in the past. However, I absolutely hold those people accountable and responsible for making good decisions now going forward into the future.